Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Our prayer today, as you listen to this message, is that God would illuminate His Word in your life and reveal something to you for right where you are at this moment in time. Open up your heart, open up your mind, open up your ears, and receive what the Lord has for you today through this message.
Thank you so much again for that. I want you to get your Bible turned to Psalm chapter 31. Looking at verse 11 and 12. And let's see if this passage or prayer or if this message rings true for you today. You won't have to lift your hand, but here in just a couple of minutes, you're going to say to yourself, wow, I guess I am supposed to be here. This is for me. David said, verse 11, my enemies insult me. Neighbors are even worse. I disgust my friends. People meet me on the street and they turn and run. I'm completely forgotten like someone dead. I'm merely a broken dish. Does it sound like a prayer that any of you have ever prayed? I'm just a broken dish. Now, before I get into this, I want to explain to you very quickly in the context what that word dish means, because I love the picture that we have here. I think Deb does an amazing job putting these things together, but that pretty much illustrates what we're talking about, but it can go further than that. A broken dish. The dish here refers to anything that could be a clay pot, it could be cloth even. It could be a weapon. It could be armor. So this dish or this cup perfectly illustrates this, but it can be, I want you to understand, it can be even more, basically to the point that the word dish means apparatus. If you think about it that way, it makes a little bit more sense. An apparatus that is a vessel. Something that you would carry something in, all right? So a dish, a bag, whatever it might be, whatever apparatus you were using to carry something in, and specifically talking now about that apparatus, it's something that was once new and in great shape and useful, and something has happened and now it's become chipped and dented, and broken, unable to escape its brokenness. Does anybody here feel broken? You don't have to wave at me. You don't have to raise your hand. I'm just asking the question. Does anybody in the room feel broken? And in light of this description, and understanding the verse that David's talking about, have you ever had that day, or maybe you're doing that right now, you're in that moment in life where that you just feel like a broken dish? You know, just this week in our news, we heard about a 29-year-old young man who stole an airplane and amazingly did some tricks with it, like a 76-passenger plane. I mean, where's this guy been forever? He steals a 76-passenger plane and he's doing rolls and all kinds. I mean, it's like a fighter pilot. And eventually he crashed that plane to a small island and he died. But before he crashed, he told the air flight controllers, he said, I'm just a broken guy with a few screws loose. And I thought, you know, I know a lot of folks like that, being one myself. Ever feel like that? I'm just a broken guy with maybe a few and maybe a lot of loose screws. But I'm not what I used to be, And when they interviewed the family and the friends, the people around this young man, they said he was loved, he was liked, he was well thought of, he was popular in high school. You know, he's a family man, he had a wife. People are just brokenhearted that he's gone. But he knew he was broken. And not enough other people knew he was broken. I think deep down inside, a lot of us feel that same way. You can't live on this planet for very long without getting chipped and dented. I can't keep my vehicles the way I want to. I want to keep my vehicles new. I'm the guy, I want to keep them washed the best I can. I try to keep them away from other cars. You know, you can tell cars that don't care about you. I'm not trying to be mean, but you know people don't give a rip about their car. You can tell by the way it looks, so you always park away from those people. They're like, if they don't mind beating their own up, they sure don't mind beating up yours. But it doesn't matter how hard you try to keep something new. Anything we use eventually is going to show the signs of the usage and the abuse that we put on that thing. You're not going to be able to keep it clean and new for long. There's a fellow named Jim Wilson. He wrote a book called Future Church. And this is what he wrote in the book. He said, brokenness isn't necessarily a bad thing. A farmer doesn't plant his crops in cement. Rather, he chooses good soil, breaks it up, and then sows the seed. Unbroken soil doesn't produce abundant crops, but cultivated soil incubates life. A butterfly could never flutter in the spring air without breaking its cocoon. Neither could an eaglet ever emerge without breaking its shell. That's what he wrote. Pretty good, huh? So in many ways, we're not useful until we're broken. Think about that for a minute. You know, Pastor Don Hutchins was here last week. Didn't he do a great job? Didn't you enjoy that message? I mean, wow. It was an amazing word. And he taught us about the value of suffering. And it reminds you of some of the old sayings. Adversity breeds success. Another one you're more familiar with, no pain, no gain, right? But I'm going to tell you, it hurts to be broken. When I was 5 years old, I rode my tricycle backwards off of a 4-foot-high porch and broke my arm. And it hurt. My arm still does weird things. I don't think I've ever shown you this, but look at this. I mean, I was a pitcher when I was a little kid, and kids would cry when they had to come up to bat because one strike, one pitch into the stands, and the next one into the side of the kid, and then another strike, and then one into the stands. The little kid have to come up there, and he's putting his helmet on. The coach is trying to push him up, and he's crying. The coach is saying, just stand in there. Just stand in there. It won't hurt long. And then, you know, there have been those other, other bones you break, fingers and hands and whatever. It just hurts when you have something broken. I played baseball one summer with this finger broken. I didn't go to the doctor. Dad just took a popsicle stick and broke it off and taped it around it. And I just stuck that finger outside that glove. Man, every time those guys would throw that ball real hard, I was playing first base. When they'd throw that ball real hard from third and it would hit that glove, you talk about hurting. If you've ever been broken, you understand what it feels like to be broken. But my question is, does it render the object useless because it's been broken? And I always found that even though my pitching might have gone wild, everything I broke eventually healed, and I was so grateful to get the usage back. Right? Anybody like that? Raise your hand if you ever had a broken bone, man. You were so thankful once that thing healed. You were so tired of limping around, wearing that sling or that cast. And some of the commentators think this passage was written that we're reading here. It's written by David, but there's some speculation as to was it during his running from Saul, or was it during his time with Absalom? And some of them think it was during the time of Absalom. It makes a lot of sense to me because you can hear the brokenness in David's spirit. His own son at one time in his life, Absalom, you remember the story? Absalom decided to try to usurp the throne, and he backstabbed his own dad, who was David, and tried to kill him. And David's hiding from his own son, who's trying to kill him and take his throne. And it's a sad story. I can't imagine having your own flesh and blood hate you to the point that they actually wanted you dead. This is probably the context from which these verses that I read to you were written. A dad who is just literally brokenhearted that his own child hates him so badly. He's feeling the same way that a lot of us do sometimes when we go through those devastating seasons in our life. Things like your marriage is falling apart, or your kids are living wild, or your boss is mistreating you, or your body's failing you, or you can't pay your bills, or maybe you just realize you're not the young, strong, confident person that you used to be, and you start thinking the way David thought in these verses. I want to show you for a few minutes how he was thinking, just based on what he said. Get your pen. Get your phone, however it is you take notes. I want you to see what David thought. Look at this. The first thing David thought, you look at the verse, look at how it reads. My enemies insult me, neighbors are even worse. I disgust my friends. People meet me on the street, they turn and run. Here is a guy who's making a statement. The first statement he's making is this. I'm broken, I'm dented, I'm chipped, and everybody knows. That's what he's saying. I'm damaged, and everybody knows. Because how many of you know that when you're dented, you feel like everybody's looking? When you're the one that has the new brake, soon as you get to cast, you think to yourself, everybody's talking about this. Well, now there's something you need to understand. People are talking about you behind your back. They really are. They're either saying good things or they're saying bad things, but they are talking about you behind your back. But it's not everybody. That's where we mess up. We think we got some kind of problem going on. I hear it all the time. It breaks my heart. People that don't want to come to church. You know, I failed, Pastor. I have fallen. I committed sin. I'm not coming to church anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, everybody knows. They're talking about me. Because when something like that happens in your life, you just think everybody knows, everybody's looking, everybody's talking, everybody's going to be talking, everybody's pointing at me. Well, I got to tell you something. I'm not trying to be unkind, but I want you to understand something. You are not the focus of everybody's life. Do you think they're worried so much about your broken arm when they're trying to nurse that broken foot that they're trying to get around on? Well, I'm the only one broken here. No, you're not. Everybody's broken here. We're all chipped and dented. Everybody doesn't know. David said, they are my enemies, my neighbors, my friends, my family. Everybody runs from me on the street because he's saying they don't want to have to see me because they don't want to have to what? Get involved. That's why we say things to people like, how you doing? And they say, fine. And before they can really tell you, we run. Right? How's it going? The guy's on crutches. How you doing with that? Well, I'm doing all right. Well, great. All right then. I mean, as we're running away, hey, I'm praying for you, man, praying for you. Because you know if you don't run, you're about to hear a 12-hour story about something that you got of your own. When we get done hearing about your broke leg, and somebody walks up and says, you got a broke leg? Well, I broke my arm, and here we go. I got to hear another 12 hours. You say, Pastor, you're so cruel. No, I'm not. I'm just telling it like it is. You're the same way. You feel the same way. You do care. You do care. But everybody's got their own brokenness that they're dealing with. So the bottom line is this. When you think everybody cares and you think everybody's focused on your brokenness, They are not, because they've got their own to deal with. But the good news is this: God does care. And he never gets tired of the conversations. He never gets tired of the complaining. Lord, it hurts. I know. Cast all your cares on me. Cast your burdens on me. Why does he tell us to do that? Because he knows nobody else is going to listen. Nobody else is going to put up with all that. So he says, cast them all on me. I can handle it. I got 7.5 billion people talking to me at one time. And I can keep each one of them separated. I know what everybody's saying, what everybody's doing, what everybody's going through. I love all of them, and I know exactly what's going on in their life, and it matters to me. Isn't that awesome? David said, everybody knows. And then secondly, he said, I love it, he's having a pity party right here, and he had right to have. He said, everybody knows, and number two, and nobody cares. You see it? Look at it right there. I'm completely forgotten and like someone dead. Right? Nobody cares. I joke about it that if, I know this probably isn't funny, but it's funny to me. I joke that if people knew my problems, half wouldn't care and the other half would say I deserved them. So why do I'm just like, why tell? David said, they've all forgotten about me, and it's like I was dead. And I want you to understand something. For those of you that have been hurt by the fact that people didn't seem like they cared as much as you thought they should have cared, when you tried to tell somebody and they didn't act like they cared as much as they should have cared, here's the truth of the matter. They really do care. But they don't get all that worked up about your stuff. Why? Because they're busier right now themselves than a one-legged man in a rear end kicking contest just trying to stay on top of their own stuff. Hopping around on one leg trying to get in a kick. Nobody cares. Yeah, they care, but they don't have time to stop. They're trying to kick. Don't get angry at your family when you're going through tough times. They care, but none of them truthfully care to the extent that Jesus does. But he cares. Do they care? Yes, your family cares. Don't get discouraged. Don't quit the church if nobody cares. They care, but they don't care as much as Jesus cares. And he does. That's the truth. And you need to know this. He cares enough that he's working on your behalf. All the people that you would be talking to about this can't do anything to fix it anyway. They didn't do anything to start it. They can't do anything to finish it. They can help bear the burden. They can help pray. They can counsel. They can walk through it with you, but they can't fix it. But Jesus knows how. David said, everybody knows. Nobody cares. And I'm just broke. That's what he said. That's number 3. I'm just broke. What's he saying? I'm ready to give up. I'm done. I'm whipped. I'm give in. I'm give out, and I quit. I'm no good to anybody in this shape. And they feel like the young man. I might as well go steal a plane and crash it. That's where he got to. I'm just a broken vessel, and you get to the place sometime where you say to yourself, I cannot foresee a time that I'm ever going to be back on top. Have you ever felt that way? Maybe you feel that way today. I'm trying, I'm struggling, I'm not going to quit, but I cannot see a time, I cannot see in this or any other parallel universe where that I'm ever going to be on top. We get there sometimes. When we get in darkness sometimes, we get in situations sometimes that are so bleak and so difficult that we think to ourselves, and that's a lot of the reason why people commit suicide. They look at the situation, they say, I cannot see this ever ending. I can't see in any scenario how this could ever be okay again. So I'm checking out. But there's hope. If you don't like the way things are, hang on a minute. They're going to change, just like the weather out there. It's going to change. If it's real bad right now, it's going to get better. And some of you say, oh, I know what the flip side of that is. If it's real good right now. I know a guy like that. He's like, man, things are going good right now. I'm really worried. The bottom's about to fall out. I'm like, just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy the moment right now. Because, yeah, it is going to. If it holds true like it has for me, yeah, you're probably right. But, hey, right now, have fun, you know. And some people can't have no fun. When it's time to have fun, they can't have fun because they're worried about what's coming. Pastor, everything that's happened to me just made me feel worthless. I just feel like I don't have anything left to contribute. Well, David felt that way, but something happened to him on down the road. I want to show you something. You turn your Bible to Psalm chapter 51. Something happened because he goes from saying, everybody knows and nobody cares and I'm just broke, to saying this in verse 17 of chapter 51. He said, the sacrifice pleasing to God is a broken spirit. Oh God, you do not despise a broken and sorrowful heart. Wow. Something happened from 31 to 51. Something happened where he went from, man, this is bad and it's not going to get better. I don't know what I'm never going to be able to change this. Something happened from there to, oh, there's value in my brokenness. This is what God values as necessary. God had changed his heart and mind when he brought him through this, and now he began to see that his brokenness was precious to God. Now he's in a place where God could finally use him. This broken heart, this broken spirit was the vessel, or what? The apparatus. This broken spirit, this broken heart was the apparatus, the container that God was searching for all along to pour through. Are you chipped? Are you dented? Now you're the one he can use. I want you to remember something. Jesus couldn't feed the 4,000 until he, what? Broke the bread. Jesus wasn't anointed for the cross until a little broken lady came along with an alabaster box and broke the box and poured the contents of it on him for his burial. There's value in brokenness. We could not be reconciled to God until God broke down the curtain that separated us. We could never have been saved until the body of Jesus was what? Broken and crushed and abused beyond recognition. In fact, any of those of you that have ever studied the oil from an olive, you never get the olive oil until you completely crush and demolish the olive. Think of the healing value of olive oil. Think about all of the goodness that comes from the olive oil. You don't get the oil until you crush the olive. There's value in brokenness. Chipped and dented doesn't mean that you're not worthy anymore. It means now you're better for this than you were before. Because now in your brokenness, you have finally become the kind of vessel that God can love through, that God can pour through, because now you understand his love and his brokenness for humanity. Is your heart broken? Is your spirit broken? Do you feel broken and useless and of little value? Good. Now you're finally ready to be used by God. Isn't that an awesome word? Man, I'm chipped, I'm dented, I got chips and dents that won't heal. I'm rehabbing this and limping on that. Huh? You get something right and something else goes. I understand what you're talking about. Something's always getting damaged. But listen to this statement. I hope you're not waiting until you get well and perfect before you start feeling worthy to work for Jesus. Oh, now listen. I want you to hear this and hear me well. If God chose to use a broken Jesus, a broken David, a broken Paul, why would he ever choose to use a perfect you? And I'm going to tell you something so ironic. I laughed. I marked it in my notes. Even when I was trying to pin that out, I was typing, and when I got to perfect, I misspelled it as prefect. And prefect means a high-ranking official. And I wrote in my notes, why would he ever choose to use a prefect you? Isn't that ironic? He doesn't. He doesn't need high-ranking officials. He needs busted down, stained, broken, chipped, and dented apparatuses that he can pour through. You got to remember something. All you chipped and dented folks, remember, God knows, God cares, and God uses your brokenness. All you chipped and dented people need to come down to this altar again today. Thank him for his word to you. All of you chipped and dented people need to jump in the river that's flowing in this house. Flows every week.
Hey, thanks again for checking out our YouTube channel. To get updates on new videos or sermons in the future, click the subscribe button. If you would like to give to this ministry, or if you'd like more information on Trinity Fellowship, you can find us on Facebook or check out our website at trinitynwa.com. Thanks again for joining us. We hope to see you here soon.